everybody. This is Austin Dye, one of the co-hosts of the Beyond the Red Door podcast, and I'm joined by my lovely, amazing co-host Dominick Perry today. And we have a special guest with us today, Mr. Ryan Bergeman. He's our current undergrad chapter president. Boys, how are we doing tonight?
Very good. Very happy
Ryan,
to be here.
good,
We're
good.
no, go ahead, Dom. Sorry, I cut you off.
Oh, okay, no worries. I was going to say that I'm doing good. I'm excited to have Ryan here. I haven't really connected much with the chapter. I've been so busy with other chapters, but I'm excited because I get to hear more about Platteville and my own chapter.
Yeah, I was gonna say the same thing. I'm glad that we were able to get you on to talk because we've started the new semester in Platteville.
Mhm.
You guys have been. Did you guys just come back this week, right, or was it?
This is our second week now, so we came back last week of January.
Gotcha. So came back last week. You guys are getting into the semester rolling, doing a bunch of fun stuff with recruitment and events that I've been kind of hearing about. So, we wanted to get you on to talk about, just the undergrad chapter as a whole, what the plan is for the semester and for the rest of this year, and some of the goals you guys have. Because, I think I talked about it in one of our episodes about the transition retreat a bit, but you guys have a very nice mix on this e-board of like really young guys
Yeah.
and some of the more experienced like mentor roles that you guys are taking. So I kind of want to hear about how that's going. But let's start all the way back. Talk to us about your SIG up journey a little bit. How did you get involved with the chapter? What was the decision making behind all that?
Yeah. So turn the clock back a couple of years. Um, so I came to Platteville not knowing anybody, right? Or I guess that's not true. I knew one person pretty well, but I was not a BMS guy. I was not part of the scholarship at all. I My first interaction with a SIGAP actually was um, the Playfair. So the freshman welcome night. I think it's like the first Saturday that you're here. Everyone goes down to the practice soccer field, and you split up into big groups. And there was one activity we had to do where you had to find everyone who had the same birthday as you, or in the same birthday month. And there was this one guy I found that had the exact same birthday as me, and I was like, man, my birthday's April 1st, so April Fool's Day, a little funny. I don't usually find people that have my same birthday, but I meet this guy named Jacob, right? And I find out that he we have the same birthday, and I actually take a picture with him. Um, fast forward a couple days actually, and there's a campus event called Sex Ed Bingo. And so I'm there with a couple guys who you meet the first couple days of college that you don't talk to ever again. Um, and we go to Bridgeway afterwards for lunch, and there's a table of welcome weekend leaders. And these welcome weekend leaders were sitting next to my table at Sex Ed Bingo, and they had won. And it was Kyle Brown. I didn't know him at the time, but he was very loud and very cheering very loud at Sex Ed Bingo. um, and so when I was at Bridgeway, I went up to him and I was talking to him. I was like, "Hey, I saw that you won at Bingo. What'd you win?" And I think he won like a pack of Oreos or something. I don't remember. But I had also won, so I was like, "Oh, I got a pack of Uno." And I talked to him for like a second, and I go back to my table. I don't think anything of it. And then a couple minutes later, he comes up to our table, a big circle table full of guys. He looks at me and he hands me one of those recruitment cards. He says, "Hey, you seem like a winner. You should come to one of these events." Whole table full of guys, right? I'm the only one he gives the card to. I'm the only one he has to come to an event. And I was so funny. It was so funny looking back at that. So I ended up going to the You Bring It, We Fry It, the deep fry events. Um, and it was just so much fun. I couldn't not come to any more events, or I couldn't not go to more events. Ian Seidler, he was constantly texting me, inviting me over to play volleyball and play cards and stuff. I remember when I got bid, it was a pretty easy decision. It was more so just how do I talk to my parents about this? Because I mean I fell in love with all the guys there. That was the biggest attraction to the chapter, was how close people were, and the friendship and the brotherhood that people had, that we still have and that I have with everyone now. Um, and then funny enough, I think it was right after I signed, I went over to Chef John's house, and there was this guy Jacob Feltz, who I have the same birthday with, and I have a picture of him on my phone, and it was I don't know, it was just like not fate, but like it's when you interact with someone and then you interact with them again, and it was pretty funny.
It's like
Um,
deja vu kind of deal.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah, like you've had this feeling before. It's a really, yeah, okay. It's good to have
That's
that. I had a couple similar situations. Like I applied for BMS, and turns out when I was working, I was signed up to work for dining services like in my first semester. It's like I need money, and the guy who interviewed me for BMS was also going to be my boss. It turns out. I was like, wait a second. I've seen you before. I know you. Yeah.
yep.
I'd
And I
love to
mean,
hear that. Oh, you go ahead. Go ahead.
it was funny because I mean, Feltz is much older than me. So what was he doing at that freshman orientation thing? I don't know if I ever got an answer for that, but it was still pretty funny.
We might have to investigate that a bit because knowing him, I could have seen him just like sneaking into it just cause. But
I think, yeah, if anything, the answer is more than likely he just wanted to do it for fun.
Probably.
I love to hear the like Kyle Brown part of that story though, because I didn't know that, and I'm really glad to hear that because from like the recruitment mindset, I'm like, this is exactly what we were looking for. We wanted
Yeah.
guys to just like go find not random people, but like make those connections outside of BMS, and I feel
Right.
like we've
Mhm.
been pushing through that a lot like recently, like with everything that all the like current undergrads are involved with and like their
Hmm.
different connections. I feel like we're seeing that obviously we're still recruiting a lot of guys through BMS,
Right.
but to see that we can like branch out a little bit more and get some of these other guys in that weren't even involved in the scholarship process is awesome. So
Right. And what's funny enough is he didn't even recognize me until I think we had I don't remember what it was, but that story came up one night when we were at someone's house, and he turns to me and he goes, "That was you," and it blew his mind.
that's so funny. Was that when he was president, or would that have been?
No, that was when he was programming. So the
Oh, okay,
the fall that I joined is when he got elected as president.
gotcha.
Mm.
Okay, love to hear
Hmm.
that. Cool. Well, I mean that's an awesome story. So you joined in the fall. You've been involved because you're a junior now, right?
Yep.
Junior. So you've been involved with the chapter for a little bit, and tell us about like what what getting involved with the chapter was like. Like, did you kind of ease your way into it? Did you jump in and start doing a bunch of stuff? I mean, we know that you have a couple of exec positions that you've gotten
Hmm.
into, and we'll talk about that. But talk to us about just getting involved with everybody.
Yeah. So um, back in that first fall, um, it took me a while to really dive in. Um, it was I think it was one of our fundraisers. Um, we were selling brats um, to raise money.
Mm-hmm.
And I had I volunteered for the late shift because I remember one chapter meeting. It was, guys, we really need people to volunteer. I know it's really late, but we get money from this. And so I thought, why not? Um, a couple other people I know that outside of SIGAP, they were out of town that weekend, I think. So, and that's when I hung out with Ethan Shyla and Nate Cross for a couple hours one night, really, really late. Um, and so that I think that's where I really realized, I should devote a lot of time to this, um, because the more I would put in, the better connections I would have with guys, and that
Mm-hmm.
was really that was really my whole goal is make lifelong friends through this organization. Um, and I don't remember exact. I think it was later in the fall is when signups came out for um, Southwest Hall, the suite style. And so I just put a message out there to the guys that were also freshmen at the time. It's like, hey, does anybody have any interest in living in Southwest next year? And so the four of us, me, Brady, Niles, and Carter, we all signed up to live together. We didn't really know each other that well. We were friends, but we didn't know each other that well. Um, and man, that was the best decision I've ever made. Um, I don't just living with other SIGEPs, it's another level. It's so enjoyable. It's so much fun to just live with people that you are really close friends with. Um,
Mm-hmm.
but yeah, that I think those two moments in my first fall is really what got me to get more invested. And then when I came back that spring, my freshman year, I made a conscious decision. It's like, okay, I'm gonna be as involved as I can, even if I'm not super comfortable, around some people I might not know. I'm just pretend that you are comfortable, and it'll fake it till you make it. Um, that's how I got pretty close with I would say pretty close with Kyle, even though he's a little bit
Mm-hmm.
older than me. Ian Seidler, again, he's pretty older than me, but I interacted with him a lot that spring. A lot of those older guys, and then that also just strengthens the connections of the guys that I had, in my age or my class. Um, but after that spring, I really just it was all or nothing. I was in for the long haul. um, make it to as many events as I could, be around as much as I can. Um, go to go to whatever I could just to interact with my friends because these are the closest guys I've ever known really.
So, at what point did you want to start running for exec board? Like, where did you feel at what point like you wanted your decisions to be like influential?
That's a good question. Because I was on standards. My freshman year, I got elected in my first fall. I was the junior marshal for a year. Um, so I've had a officer slash exec position all 2.5 years now. Um, I think it was in our Sigma challenge, when we were learning about exec roles and stuff like that. I wasn't super convinced about the idea of running as an exec as a freshman year, just because I was still, I was a 18 or 19-year-old kid in Calc 2 and chemistry in a freshman year, and I was like, I don't want to overdo it. Um, so that's standard seemed like a pretty good, not safe bet, but something I would be interested in. Um, and so being on standards, that was the start of the interest in running for other exec positions. That and the BMP. I'm obviously being a former VPMD, I'm a big fan of the BMP. Uh, but the way that the challenges were structured and the way that it was expressed to me, like, this is your development process. um, I got through Sigma in a semester, I got through Phi in a semester, and I got through Epsilon in just over like a semester and a half. um, but getting through Sigma and Phi in a year and starting Epsilon started my sophomore year, that really put a lot of focus on um, being involved in decisions and being a leader. Even if you're an exec or not, anybody can fill that servant leadership role. um, and having that intrinsic motivation really helps. I was lucky that uh, Josh and Brady also wanted to get Joshua and Brady Heinke. They also
Mm-hmm.
wanted to get through Phi in a semester, so we had each other to kind of keep ourselves motivated. Um, and so yeah, that was a big part was the BMP. And I think you can draw the line from interest in the BMP to running for VPMD. Um, that was a big part of it too. I wanted to give other people the same, I don't know if inspiration, but encouragement.
Mm-hmm.
Encouragement really works for me, so I wanted to be that guy for other people, and highlight the good that they were doing and highlight their successes. Um, I think it also helped that Jace Joyner was the VPMD before me, and so I took a lot from him. He was a very influential guy. You guys know Jace. He's
Mm-hmm.
such a positive guy. He's so inspirational without even trying. Um, so I looked up to him. I still look up to him. Um, but back when he was VPMD, I looked up to him a lot and what he was doing and focusing on mental health. I wanted to follow in his footsteps. Um, and that kind of led into learning about the BMP pilot program and how that could be implemented. Um, I don't know if that's something we want to talk about now or talk about a
Yeah,
little
dive
later.
dive right into it because I know you have a lot of
Hmm.
thoughts. I've heard you talk about it.
Yeah. I'm working with it also. It's fun. It's a change. Is
It's
my
such a
It is a change. it's
oh yeah. It's a
it's
big
unfortunate.
adaptation.
Yeah, like I understand the thought process because I had a meeting with nationals about it, and I definitely understand the process that they really don't want it to turn into another class, and a lot of other chapters really felt that way.
Hmm.
Um, and I don't know. I guess my thought is, my internal like response, my gut reaction was, they just don't have the Platteville work ethic. They're not like us, and which is like what I really want to say, but at the same time, like it in another sense was a whole nother class that you're dedicating yourself to, and
Hmm.
it's really good because if you really got out what you put into it, and if you were like some brothers who really like they read the LROB, they went through everything, they really took all of the learnings to heart. Exactly, and then it is exactly what nationals wanted to get out of it, and that's why
Hmm.
we at Platteville really thrive for it. It's and they're wanting to change it, and like I want to, it feels gutted. It really, really does, because it really feels like what we did and all of that work we put in really is change, and it's a lot lesser. I'm happy that maybe it's a lot less because maybe we'll get a lot more buy-in from other chapters because that was the hardest part nationally is
Hmm.
there was not much buy-in nationally to it. It was now we got to check off these other things. Now we got to like different classes, classism as well of, other chapters really felt like, excuse me, that, sigmas weren't as good as the phis and epsilons and brother mentors as well. And that it's a change in the aspect of I'm happy they're starting with bringing it back to everyone is the exact same of like, now we can really practice what we preach.
Hmm.
Um,
I just feel like we have to give we have to give good credit to like our past like 10 years of memdevs because like I
Oh,
feel like
100%.
like you just said, Dom, like Platteville, like our group had that stuff like down to a T, and I feel like we were leading with what we were doing. So then, like you're saying, like to cut it back so much feels like, well, we were already like doing all this great stuff, and now it's just thrown out the window so that we can completely like restart
yeah,
stuff. So
Yeah.
I obviously don't have as strong of opinions like on what everything's going on because I'm not as full in the loop, but like um I just think change is hard sometimes too. So
I think
it's
Yeah, I think
yeah.
there's a couple more beneficiaries to it. I think that one of the big things is that it does add for a lot of chapters to flourish on their own and really do their own thing. Like they have the baseline minimums of every week one memdev meeting slash
Hmm.
event, however they want to call it, but it really puts a lot more power into the VPMD of how big he wants to go. Like, for VP of comms, all he really has to do is make a post and take notes for meeting and stuff like that. And then and that's a very baseline thing, and I think that's what's really important with the VPMD position now is now you're in a position of where you have to do stuff. It's not
Yep.
managing; it's just you're now doing what a lot of the other exec positions do, which I think is really beneficial. Another thing is it really adds creativity. I felt with my VPMD there wasn't. I could add one piece of creativity instead of having a whole like variety of creativity aspects of
Right.
it. Like I could add one big thing about mental health because it was COVID. It was something to put on the board. But other than that, you're just managing. Okay, how can we focus on sigma? How can we focus on phi and epsilon all in 2 semesters? And it was hard, respectfully, especially during my time of COVID. But it
Hmm.
was just hard to like really do what I wanted to do in only 32 weeks.
Yeah. No, that's definitely true. I think um one thing that I've noticed, or the one thing that I really noticed throughout my time, because what we did was obviously when I was VPMD, we had the pilot for the full year of my term, and we didn't jump fully in because there was stuff that was asked for us to do that I just didn't think would work. So in that spring, it was like, all right, let's tiptoe our way in. Fall, we're gonna try more. Um, And throughout spring, we were trying these events, we were trying these meeting topics and focusing on frequency of challenge meetings. Um, and all the while I was giving feedback to nationals. I will say that the people that are running the pilot, they are really listening. They're really trying. They're taking so much feedback. Um, I think it's tough when they're a lot of the chapters that they ask to try out some of this stuff were the high performing chapters and are
Mm-hmm.
the chapters with BMP program or balanced man programs that were excelling already. Um, but these are being tested for chapters that it can be applied to across the board. So it's tough to almost water down those chapters already flourishing balanced man programs to match something that can be applied across the board. Um,
Mhm.
so when this past fall, we really tried to dive in with trying as much as we could with trying the one memdev event a week. Um, and it was just motivation just fell off the face of the earth, truthfully.
Mm-hmm.
It's really tough to keep people accountable. No, this isn't against. This is no one person's fault. This isn't calling anybody out. Um, it's tough to keep people accountable when they don't have their set schedules and meetings and activities. I think this is a personal, thought or theory of mine, but we're an mainly engineering school. There's other majors, um, and none are better than any others, but at a majority engineering school, we're going to be very analytical people. Um, and taking away the ability to track your individual challenge, I think, was a misstep because it gave people motivation to see their percentage go up and their tracking flourish. Um, that's actually one of the things that I reintroduced kind of halfway through this past fall was um, with the BMP app going away completely. It was tough for people to keep track of their challenge and know what they had to complete. So I spent a lot of hours coding, a lot of hours coding my own BMP app tracker. Um, and it's being used by a couple other chapters across the nation now, but it gives people a way to keep track of their own challenge and see the percentage move. And even just introducing that, as much time as I spent in there, it was so worth it to see people get motivated to participate in their challenges again because they could see their percentage go up and because they could see I'm making progress. And it's easier for me to because I'm an analytical person, right? I'm an engineering major. I can see my percentage changing. I know I'm making progress. That's the way I viewed it based off the data that I saw as my time at VPMD. Like I said, analytical.
I really appreciate that because that takes away a lot of worry of my home chapter because how in depth we really are and how much we strive for it, and that's really good to see that you're taking the initiative and just going with it and making the coding, spending the hours and dedicating a lot of time, and that's what diligence is all about because you're really like putting your heart and soul into this, and that's really really good to see.
Hmm.
Um, and having other chapters, follow that too. That's really good to see that not everyone's just taking the bare minimum. Like that
Hmm.
is like obviously my initial gut worry is, MemDev got gutted. There is nothing left. There no one really wants to like worry about that anymore. And like it's a worry of all this education that we really put and strive for it is just gone because the
Hmm.
LROB is now gone. Um, and a lot of other things are just it feels empty in that sense. But it's really nice to see like there's still like that initiative to really keep pushing forward. Um, are you able to put that on like SIGUP or is that just something you guys keep within Google Drive?
Yeah. So right now it's just a big Excel doc.
Mm-hmm.
But at the end of my term, I started working with Jason Halterman, the education director,
Mm-hmm.
at headquarters, and so he's working at trying implementing something similar to have a personalized tracking ability in SIGEPU, which is the new software. And then Ty Meyer, the current VPMD, he's also working with Jason still, um, just to kind of smooth transition into it's not a pilot anymore. It's going to become the real BMP after Carlson. but they are trying to work on getting some kind of individualized tracker aspect in SIGEPU. Yeah.
Sweet.
Okay. So, okay. So now that you're president, I guess, is that still kind of a big focus for you, or how have you transitioned a lot of like your priorities? That's the word I'm looking for.
Yeah, so truthfully, I'm always going to be a VPMD at heart. I still work with I'm the Phi coordinator right now. I was the Epsilon coordinator last semester. Um, but obviously I know where the focuses should be. Um, so I've been working with Ty a little bit. Him and I worked quite a bit at the end of last semester, even throughout the election period, where both of us actually ran for president. Um, However, we were both working very close on the BAP pilot, with him being the Sigma coordinator and myself as VPMD. So we were both very aware of the state of the pilot, how it was going to continue into this semester with whoever took the position. And so Ty's very, I'm very confident with Ty's ability to manage the BMP pilot. Um, Once it's not a pilot anymore and it is the BMP, it's going to be less focus. So we still have meetings, not weekly. We've only been here a week. So we've had our meeting already. Uh, However, now that the focus for myself becomes more so the whole chapter and keeping as many needs met as I can. Um, when it comes down to it, the president's job is keep the chapter afloat and thriving, and so that in my mind that means having a hand on each of the wheels for the execs per se. So I do work with Ty and the BMP pilot, but I also work with Ben for planning recruitment stuff, and I work with Robert on monitoring the calendar, or Nate on planning events and socials. Um, so I guess in my head, when it comes down to priorities, it's how can I support the others in their jobs and really flourish their abilities.
Yeah. I talked to us, so like I know I talked at the beginning about like the age of this like new e-board and like everything. Like talk to us about the dynamic, like how is everybody kind of fitting together and working together? Because I mean I was at the exec retreat again and I talked with
Yeah.
everybody, and I think that this e-board was very motivated on what they were trying to do and had some really good goals that they were trying to implement for this next year. So just talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, it's actually been really cool and really unique for me to see. One thing about SIGAP that or I guess any Greek life organization that you don't really think about is, domino effects years down the line. So before I joined, there was a recruitment year that just didn't have a ton of guys, or the guys they did get were um, already upperclassmen, so they weren't here after a couple of years. So there was a really big gap of people who were in their junior year when I was a freshman. So that exec board, when I got joined SIGAP, the one that was elected were mostly all seniors and graduating seniors. They were relatively pretty old. So then when I was elected into VPMD, almost all of us were inexperienced in terms of having an exec position. And so it was a complete opposite. And now where we're at is we hit like the perfect middle spot, where you got guys who haven't had an exec position before. Some guys have already had one. Some haven't had any, but they're an older guy, so they've seen some highs and lows of other positions. It's been really cool to see how everyone can help each other. Just in the past couple weeks, I guess about 2 months now of having our new positions, there's been so much collaboration and so much help. Um, One thing, obviously, at our transition retreat, um, there was a lot of exec turnover. So, like Nate Strandberg, for example, he went from VPR to VP programming. Um, so he's been able to help out Ben a ton. Ben's doing a great job as recruitment, but he's a freshman, so he hasn't seen a full year. So Nate's still being here. It's been super helpful for him to have someone to ask questions to. Um, but you also get that new I don't think inexperience is the right word. A fresh perspective, a fresh set of eyes on stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Because you got Robert, who's comms, and you got Ben, who's the VPR, and they both have their experience of, I just came to school, 4 or 5 months ago. I still have stuff that I haven't seen yet, so I might have new ideas. Um, One thing we're actually trying brand new. This was a collaboration between Ben, and Niles Hammer, was our new recruitment strategy that we're trying this spring with um, our raffle idea, almost like a spring BMS. Um, Essentially, all of the recruitment events that we put on, um, we got this fancy new card swiper where you swipe your ID and it like puts you into a spreadsheet and we can track it all. It's really cool. Um, but at the end of February at our last recruitment event, we're gonna have a really big raffle, and we're gonna raffle off some prizes. I think we got some pretty hefty gift cards, um,
Mm-hmm.
as a new experimental tool, right? Because I think it was Ben and Niles came up with this. Ben hasn't seen a spring cycle, so he was asking, is there a BMS in the spring? How does this work? And that kind of kick-started the that little spark of an idea that kind of steamrolled into what we're doing now, and it's cool to see. I mean, we've
Yeah,
never
I
tried.
mean, I gotta say, when I heard it get pitched, I was like, this is like one of the better like recruitment ideas that we've had
Right?
ever.
No,
Because like we
it's
all
a good
we all
idea.
know that spring recruitment is always the hardest, and I was like, wow, like you guys found a good way to try to make it into something else, and so yeah, it's fantastic. I hope it works well. We'll have to see. You guys
Yeah,
have you had one event, right?
we've had two so far.
Two. Okay.
So we had our Lego build-off competition last Monday, or last Friday. Last Friday, I want
Mm-hmm.
to say. Um, it's getting hard to keep track of my days. That's not great. Um,
Got a lot going on.
but yeah, last Friday, ton of really big turnout. It was really cool to
Great.
see. I think we had like 7 or 8 PNMs there, on top of a great turnout of brothers. Um, really good interactions. Kind of for the guys, the potential new guys who came, just kind
Mm-hmm.
of all over the place in terms of age, which is cool to see. Normally at these recruitment events, um, in the fall it's usually younger guys, freshmen or sophomores, but no, we were getting guys coming from off campus on a Friday night, coming to build Legos in the marquee. Like that's really cool. That's really cool. Um, so it's really cool to see that. And then this past Monday, last night, we had a resume building night as a recruitment event, which is something it's a little new. Because we talked last spring as an exec board. It's like we kind of want our recruitment events to show what we're really about. Um, because yes, we go play basketball. Yes, we build Legos and play Wii games and Switch games, but we also do developmental stuff that make us better, more balanced men. So why don't we show that to guys who could want to join? And if they come to a resume night, a resume building workshop, clearly they're people that they're winners. They're people we would want to join, or we would want them to join. Um, and so it went pretty well. We even had a couple alumni come in and help out. Will Browning came out and helped out and talked about his resume. Ian Seidler, he zoomed in to talk about his resume. Um, I know I even asked Dom if he was free, but he couldn't make it. I know that would have been cool. But it was
Well,
really
then
cool to
send my
see
resume to
these.
Will.
Did we? I actually wasn't there. I have a class on Monday nights, I but yeah, it's been cool to see these new recruitment, techniques or ideas that are coming from younger guys, but having the know-how of older guys on how to put on events and
Mm-hmm.
schedule and plan and all that. Um, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I think one of the questions that we had here that we didn't like, we kind of skimmed over, but it was like kind of tied in was, like how did some of those memdev skills kind of help you decide that you want to run for president, like win some of
Hmm.
that stuff? And just what I was going to mention was like, I feel like from what I've seen from you and like our interactions that we've had, like you are able to, like you talked about last semester, like Morale was a little low with a bunch of different things going on, and you've been able to invigorate this like motivation in everybody to like really come out and start doing stuff. And obviously, you guys are reaping the rewards of that because everybody is getting involved with things and
Hmm.
coming back and doing stuff. And so, um, yeah, that's just, just shows your leadership ability and those great skills that you have there. But
I mean,
yeah, it's
truthfully,
great to see.
I think that I can't take that credit. That goes to like all of our exec board, but also all the guys in the chapter, um, showing up and showing out essentially to these events. But really, it comes down to how well it worked out of our goals that kind of meshed together.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I'm sure it was kind of a little apparent during a transition retreat, but especially during the election season, almost all of the presentations and election speeches, they tried to hit on the same couple points of what we wanted to see, and a lot of that was, you know, make academics a focus again,
Mm-hmm.
um, bring back fun stuff to kind of reduce the over programming, so focus on bigger, more involved events rather than putting out as many stuff as we can. Um, and and even just the attitude, truthfully, i I think a lot of our focus came back to being connected as brothers, and building, those relationships and just being around each other. I know I talked about it earlier, before we started recording, but like tonight we're gonna have like 20 guys just hanging out in a basement watching Breaking Bad. Like, you can't just like, you can plan that, sure, but are people really gonna be engaged? It's fun to just hang out and be friends. Um, and I think that just comes from an attitude thing from everybody in the chapter, truthfully.
Yeah. Like so, talk to us a bit about obviously, like I said, morale is high, everyone's doing really good. We've got some pretty hefty goals this year for the chapter, and like just stuff we're looking forward to. It's a big year for us. Talk to us
Hmm.
about some of that stuff that's coming up and like the work you guys are putting in to achieve those goals.
Yeah, there's a lot of man hours going into, quite a few different things actually. Um, the the most pressing, or the biggest goal at the forefront of our minds right now is, Buchanan Cup application.
Mm-hmm.
That's due in about a month from when we're recording this. Not sure when this will get posted, but
Hopefully, pretty quick.
um, uh, so yeah, it's our Buchanan Cup. We got a really good squad working on it right now.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I don't know the actual number. I think we got like 10 or 11 guys. Very knowledgeable, very very motivated to work on this. Um, the 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 requirements have changed significantly from our previous cycle of applications.
Oh.
Um, so we did get a little warning, um, because of my position as VPMD working with nationals on the BMP pilot.
Mm-hmm.
We did get a little warning on the structural changes of the rubric and what nationals are going to be asking for. So we were a little prepared. It's a lot more numbers based. It's a lot more focused on, um, quantitative stuff rather than qualitative. Or I don't know if that one's
Interesting.
right. Um,
Yeah, it is.
yeah,
You're right.
yeah. So looking at, manpower, looking at, recruitment numbers, BMS goals, um, campus involvement, stuff like that, stuff that you can see a clear outcome. And we're not worried. We're not worried by any means by it. We are a very high performing chapter. We know
Mm-hmm.
that we can answer these well, and we know that we can, put a good application together, and we are putting a very good application together. Um, it's just the changes are a little bit tougher because it's from the 2021 to 2023 application. We had a lot of, help from those docs and from the
Mm-hmm.
feedback that we got from that year, versus the one we're filling out now. The feedback still applies, but it's not as clear to see
Tailored
where.
to the question. Yeah.
Yeah, it's not as clear to see where we can apply that feedback in those answers. So that's one of the big goals. Another one is, 25-year banquet. That's
Mm-hmm.
I know that's more alumni AVC centered. However, we're putting a lot of thought into how we can, work and contribute and make that a good experience. Um, Big part of that's gonna come down to burning heart. It's gonna come down to the actual on campus stuff that we're gonna help with.
Yeah.
Taking up, setting up um, everything that Saturday night and taking everything down on the Sunday morning. Um, we had a good crew working on that though. Nate, Ty, and myself and Owen are all working. We meet every couple weeks throughout the past year to
Mm-hmm.
uh, to figure out what we got to work on. Um, those are the big ones. Those are the big goals. Um, there's some little stuff that a little out of our control that we're hoping for in terms of goals. Tragos, I know that is one thing that we're excited to see.
We got to talk about that. That is such an exciting thing. Like
Yeah,
I was trying to think about in the past, like if we've had people that have been like finalists for it. And I'm sure that there's been a couple, but I can't like think off the top of my head. But the fact that like this year we have two with
two
you and
in one year.
Josh
It's
in
never
one
happened
year
before.
is
Yeah,
insane. So talk to us a bit about like that process for like anybody that might listen that can still apply for it for the
sure.
coming years, especially like freshmen and stuff. Um, just talk about it a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, truthfully, I was mind blown to get that email.
I bet.
But I still remember filling out that application, because we really advertise it. Um, it's like shooting a basketball in the dark. You
Hmm.
can make it. You have every chance in the world to fill out that application and make it. Um, but I forget exactly when applications were due. I want to say sometime in October. I think we had 8 guys fill out the application,
That's pretty good.
um, which is a little higher than the past couple of years. I want to say
Mm-hmm.
at least 1 year ago. Um, and we you don't hear anything. You don't hear anything about results. Um, but it's announced at CLA or at Carlson. So I
Mm-hmm.
remember waiting around over winter break, just asking Ty, asking Josh, asking all the guys who applied if you heard anything. Um, and so I remember I was in my basement one day and I got a call from Ty. Um, and he was just like, "Yeah, I got the email. I'm kind of a little disappointed I didn't get accepted." And I was shocked. I thought if Ty can't make it, I don't know who can go. I mean, in my mind, Ty's a great example of someone to go to Tragos.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and so then I was like, "Oh, well, I'll check the email." Um, I remember running upstairs and telling my mom right away because like that's so cool. It's 2 in 1 year. It's
Yeah.
never happened before in Platteville. It's I think it really shows though how much effort and how much work we've been putting in to work with nationals and to
Mm-hmm.
be an outstanding chapter because um the way some of us look at it is Platteville's a small school. Platteville is uh, a small chapter, a small SIGAP chapter compared to other SIGAP chapters. We are the biggest on campus,
Mm-hmm.
but in terms of SIGAP chapters, we're not that large. So if our chapter goes away, won't happen. But if it did, it's not going to come back because it's just such a small school. So if Nationals really wants to keep a high performing chapter like Wisconsin Theta, like we are currently a high performing chapter, it you know it would make sense that they try and get someone to go on a good leadership training. A couple guys go to Ruck every year. Send
Mm-hmm.
someone to Tragos. It, it it's more so for um, the what you can learn at Tragos is what you give back to the chapter. It's not so much from what you get out of it yourself. I've talked to a couple of Tragos scholars about that, and that's the same thing they always say is it's the biggest thing I got out of it is what I was able to give back to my chapter. Um, so obviously me and Joshua and myself, we are the finalists this year. We'll find out in just over a week or just over 10 days actually. We found out
Mm-hmm.
on February 15th in Chicago. So
Yeah. Fingers
Kind of big,
crossed for
kind
you
of a little
guys.
bit of a transition right there too. Who's all going to Carlson from Platteville? Is that all the exec board?
yeah, so all of the exec board, so myself, Nate Stramberg, uh, Joshua, Brady Heinke, um, Ty Meyer, Ben Steffes, Robert Mingerink, and Nathan Benty were all going as the execs on the executive tracks, and then um, Isaac Dickrell and Ian Yaden are also going as rising leaders. So we have 9 guys going, or 8 guys going total. 9 guys going total.
Okay. I'll be there. I think Pulsar is also going to be there from
Yep.
the Platteville ABC. Brian Kirschbaum might be going. He will find out this Sunday if he can be as well. And then that's it from Platteville that I know that is going to be there from the ABC side. I don't know
Cool.
if you know anyone actual on the ABC board, Austin, that might be going.
I'm not sure because I mean we knew Polzar was going because the AVC is actually getting an award. I don't know what it is. We just told it was a big award and that somebody needs to represent us there.
Mhm.
So we sent Polzar because he always goes. But yeah, and I'm not sure if anybody really else is. It's hard. I had this conversation with you, Dom, and like with Dawson too, because Dawson wanted to go. But it's like the fact that our like area always gets screwed because it's always like that Valentine's Day weekend. So it's like,
Yeah.
okay, like we got to make the commitment to our significant others. Like, oh, sorry, can't celebrate Valentine's Day because we're going to leadership training.
Going to Chicago, yeah.
So yeah, hopefully that will change. But I think it sounds like we're trying to get more people interested so that in the future ones that we'll have like a nice group of guys that usually goes, because like that's how it kind of was in the past. Like we always had a couple of alumni that would come with just because. But
yeah, that was part of why normally we get a little bit more guys, but this year it actually falls on Valentine's Day.
yeah.
So a lot of guys were like, I want to, but I'm not an exec and I have a relationship. It's not gonna work. It's pretty unfortunate. I know Polzar. He told me he was going. I was glad to hear that. I think I don't remember who his friend's name is, but him and his friend have gone to every single CLA and conclave for the past, I don't even know how many years, but his friend is beating him by 1. So it's one of his goals that he's gonna make it to every single one until he can say that he's either gone to the same or more than his friend who also goes. I don't remember who it is though.
I'm trying to think of who that would be. But that's awesome. Yeah, Polzar is awesome. He's a good guy. Yeah. I forgot what I was just about to say. I think. Sorry. I know what I was going to say. Going back to what you were talking about earlier, with like, I feel like we've slowly been seeing this progression of how our chapter has been like, getting the recognition that it deserves. I mean, like I said, like you and Josh right now with Tragos, and then going back to last year with Jason Carter getting the RD positions, and then having Baker, become an not an RD, district governor. So like we've slowly been making our way now into like this, after the Buck Cups, like we're getting the recognition. Like our guys that are really standing out and being those leaders are finally getting recognized for what they're doing. So yeah, it's fantastic to see. It just shows the strength of the guys that we're recruiting and the skills that are coming out of everything that is going on there. So yeah, it's awesome. It's a good year. It's a good time.
It is really cool to see that. Yeah, great day to be a SIG up.
Great day to be a SIG up. We know that you have to go in a little bit to go watch Breaking Bad, so I don't know if we kind of hit on most of our questions that we wanted to ask. I don't know if there's anything else that we wanted to talk about, or Dom, if you had anything else that you wanted to ask about.
I don't think so. So I guess a couple quick questions. Have you been to Carlson before?
Oh, hang on. I think I just cut out really quick.
Oh.
So.
Okay.
You're back, I think.
You're good.
Okay. Yep, yeah. All right.
Yours? Okay. All right. What have you been to Carlson before?
Yeah, I went last year. I was my only year I've gone so far.
Okay, so what are your expectations this year versus like the last year?
Yeah, it's a good question. I think last year personally I do really wish I would have went my freshman year as in the rising leader track, because it's a little overwhelming to go as an exec with no experience going into Carlson because Chicago's the biggest one. Um,
Mm-hmm.
so I was trying to like absorb the. It was my first like interaction with SIGEP being a national fraternity. Like obviously I know we're a national fraternity, but it was my first interaction with lots of other chapters. So I was trying to take that in and also take in the information from the MemDev track and also the information from, we got a little bit of information about the pilot, the BMP pilot there too. But not every chapter was part of the pilot, so it was the MemDev track last year was a little not confusing. It was just a little separated because we didn't get to interact with the non-pilot chapters as much. So this year I'm really looking forward to having that um, deeper interaction with every single chapter in there in that room in the president track that I can. Um, it's been recommended to me by Parker, by Kyle, by Ian. Get as many contacts as you can
Mm-hmm.
while you're there. I have plenty of MemDev contacts, which they've been very helpful. Truthfully, the SIGEP, the VPMD in Valpo for the past year, Jack Caldwell, very helpful guy, very helpful guy. Um, but for the president track, I'm excited to really see where other chapters fall, because it's easy to see on in Platteville on campus kind of where Greek life chapters, what their priorities are, kind of where what they really want to focus on, in terms of like, you know, manpower or campus involvement or philanthropy, stuff like that. I'm excited to see because the president has the not most accurate, but a very accurate view of where their chapter is at. So I'm excited to talk to other presidents, and kind of see how they feel their chapter stacks against other chapters on their campus, kind of where they feel their priorities lie. Um, and it's always good to get some ideas about some stuff,
Mm-hmm.
stuff to bring back. There's been plenty of stuff over the years that I've heard have been brought back from Carlson's. Um, so that's probably one of the big things is just random ideas out there that float around. You never really know what you can hear other chapters are doing that's you think that would work so good in Platteville. Um, because I know even the stuff Ty went to AFLV conference this past weekend and saw some other SIGEP chapters there. He talked to a lot of them about Ty getting to hear about what happens in other chapters rituals. And we're also getting the ritual pilot is becoming
Mm-hmm.
not a pilot anymore. This Carlson, we're going to get the updated books, which we've been in it for a year already, so we're kind of we're well versed. Um, so, but it'll be cool to see that. I think there's also going to be a demonstration, which I'm excited to see that too.
Yeah, I think
You
we're
have to
doing
let
a
me know when
public.
that is.
I think we're doing a public ritual demonstration at 25 year is the plan.
Yep, that'll be interesting to see.
Yeah, I mean, just even going to like conclave and seeing the live one was awesome.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
like, yeah, it'll be a good time.
I'm excited, very excited.
Yeah. You got anything else, Dom?
No, I think that's it for me. Brian, thank you so much for coming on. I sincerely appreciate it. Is there anything that you want to scream from the top of your lungs to the world out here before you head out?
Um, I guess any alumni out there, if you want to get in contact with me, please do. We would love to have as much involvement as we can. Um, it's really cool to see it when guys come back and can share their skills. Even like I said, our resume building this past Monday, we had a couple alumni come back and help with that. Um, and if you just want to, hear about the state of the chapter or what's going on, I'm always happy to talk about Wisconsin Theta. Um, it's you know it's the biggest part of my life right now, and it will be for a while. So
Yeah. I'm gonna piggyback off that because this is gonna come out probably around the same time as our charge comes out. But like, you guys got a chapter retreat coming up that we're hopefully gonna have some alumni at as well, and we have annual meeting at some point that will also be there. Like, we have a lot of opportunities where like if you're not uh, as an alumni like not comfortable just like I'm trying to think of the best way to say it. Like jumping in and like doing an event like right away. Like we're creating a lot of events where there's gonna be a lot of people together that can kind of make it maybe less like awkward that you're just hanging out with a bunch of undergrads. That's the best way I can say it. So I would just keep an eye out on like emails and stuff for when that stuff comes out, because I think the chapter retreat is like mid-April, or is it March?
Our chapter retreat, is that the camping trip you're talking about? Our like camping retreat? Yeah, that'll be the first weekend in May.
Oh man, I knew it started with them.
Yeah.
But yeah, so like that, like I said, they got that coming up, and then annual meeting stuff at some point.
Yep.
Like we're trying to plan some different events around that so that it's more incentivized to come back for some different things. So
our golf outing too.
Golf outing. That's the
really
other
big.
one I was going to ask about, or say something about golf outing, which was a huge hit last year. So
we want to make that the main focus this year, like that. We want that to be like huge. So it was really good. Don't get me wrong, it was huge last time. It was really good, but we really want to run it back and leave an impression for the years to come.
Yeah. So there's those, and then obviously 25-year banquet's the big one, and save the dates have already gone out for that, but I think a lot of details are going to start coming out here in the next like month, 2 months ish, because they've been cooking up a lot of stuff. So it's going to be a very fun time. I think that's all that I had to also add on to that. Anything else, Ryan?
No, I don't think so. Just thank you guys again for your time and for inviting me on. It was really cool to see you guys and talk to you. I've listened to quite a few of these, and it's always cool to hear more information. And so hoping some other guys can get some stuff out of this one.
Yeah, I mean, thank you again for coming on to just talk about, obviously like those of us that are involved with the alumni, like the ABC, and like are actively involved with what the undergrads are doing, we know what's going on, but to have you be able to come on and talk about what's happening with the chapter and all the different stuff that's going on for people that don't necessarily or like aren't necessarily involved, like it's good to be able to hear it from an undergrad rather than from the alumni sometimes. So
that makes sense.
Thank you for that. Thank you so much. Dom, anything else, or you want to close out the intro here or outro?
You can definitely close it out here. I want to thank everyone for coming on. If you have any questions, comments, or concerns, feel free to reach out to Ryan if they were directed towards the undergraduate chapter. If you have any questions and or want to be on the podcast, feel free to reach out to Austin and I. As always, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe.
Hit the like button.
Hit the like button, the thumbs up. I want that bell going. Get some notifications going. Other than that, thank you everyone for listening in. We truly appreciate this. Austin and I are going to do our darndest this year to push out more. I put it on myself.
Have lots of exciting guests that we're planning on getting on.
I have put it in my heart's content to really push Austin this year. Beyond that, I've been pushing him.
We're in a good start of the year.
Yeah, we're going in strong. So Sean, if you're listening to this, we promise we're going to put you to work more.
I know, Sean.
You won't have a wedding because you're going to be working for us. All right. Well, without anything else, you guys have a great night. Take care.
See ya.